coverage where from paint companies to tile companies to plywood companies, we are trying to understand that why exactly the home improvement market has revived. Has the market gone beyond just the pent-up demand which we thought had come during the festival season? If at all, is the demand structural, and is there an element of reverse migration which clearly is playing in demand from two-tier cities and three-tier cities? Keshav Bhajanka joins us now, represents Century Plywood. Let's talk about what is happening in the plywood market. Well, we've heard from Asian Paints. We've just got a sense from what is happening to the tile market. Let me understand from you what is happening to the plywood market. The data points are indicating that consumer is back, but is the consumer here to stay?
You see, our demand, our products actually get used a little later in the building material cycle. If you look at tiles, if you look at paint, during the time when the building is being constructed, there's a lot of usage. Even there's usage afterwards, but that is a point in time where a lot of the demand comes from. For us, once the house becomes a home, once the registration is done and people start working on the furniture, at that point our demand really starts. So I think that there is a definite sense that with the number of registrations going up, for instance, I believe in Mumbai the number of registrations jumped by somewhat 40% during the month of October. I think this demand is there to stay. The entire real estate industry has been in turmoil for quite some time. Maybe it is time we are seeing a rebound.
Okay. Could you broadly tell us that what exactly has happened to your sales post Diwali and post Dussehra? I'm trying to compare the festival demand versus the post-festival period.
So you see, a lot of people try to move into the house prior to Diwali. So every year there is a spurt just before Diwali. Post Diwali, we have been back to normal sales. Having said that, we still have a growth in the month of November, which is very promising.
Okay. What is your definition of demand? Is it double-digit demand? Is it late teens? Can you define when you say demand is looking strong in a numerical number?
Double digit.
Okay. Double digit, early teens, late teens. I'm just trying to arrive a number at you.
You see, what happens is, at this point in time, for me to give you any number, I could say 30%, 40%, 50%, but it's all meaningless. I could say 0% because the market is a little uncertain. But what we are seeing is that sustainably double-digit demand, 10% plus, should be the bare minimum that we achieve going forward.
Could you broadly walk us through in terms of the demand vectors? One is the typical urban upgrade which happens. Then there is demand which essentially comes from the home improvement market. Can you differentiate and tell us that where is the linear demand coming from? Is it fresh housing or is it improvement?
For us, typically 70% plus of the demand would come from new housing and close to 30% would be from refurbishment. Having said that, post-lockdown, people have been a little skeptical to go in for refurbishment, particularly if they have some elders in the house. So that becomes a little bit of a challenge. So I think that right now there has been a little changeover towards new demand or towards fresh construction, primarily in the cities. But upcountry markets, it is pretty much the same as it was earlier.
Okay, sure. All right. Let's also get a perspective from you, Keshav, and a couple of other things as well. In terms of, like now the future, when we're looking at the first half, or the second half rather, in terms of where the demand's likely to come from, how sustainable it's likely to be, for example, and in what segments? What would you say the defining trends are looking like right now?
I think that H2 is looking strong. The evidence of October and November, I think that we're in for a good H2. We also need to remember that last year in Q4 we only effectively had 2.5 months, so we have that advantage. So the growth over the base is definitely going to be good. But having said that, I think long term we're looking at a minimum of double-digit growth in plywood. Laminates or the decorative segment is taking a little more time to find its feet, but I'm sure that in H2 we'll be back to normal in the laminate segment. MDF and particle board are growing well, and I think that trend is going to continue. They should have close to 15 to 20% growth going forward sustainably.
Okay, great. The government's also working at curtailing imports at this point of time, as you know, of ready-made furniture. Do you see this benefiting the MDF segment? You're also looking at possibly setting up a plant in South India. Talk to us about more plans on that front.
So I definitely believe the MDF segment is going to do better. Yes, there has been a curve in imports. It is due to multiple reasons. As you know, the cost of shipping has increased exponentially. So the landed prices have gone up. The dollar from last year has strengthened to a certain extent. It is now at 73, 74, which again has brought about a 5% price increase in the cost of imports. So I think going forward, import is going to be restricted, and this is going to give a big impetus to domestic industry. Also, there is a lot of deliberation and discussion around the Furniture Make in India campaign. So I think the government has identified this as a multi-billion-dollar segment where we are importing most of our requirement. So they are putting a lot of trust in it, and there's a lot of deliberation. Whether there's concrete action on the ground, I think it is a little early to comment. But if this keeps up, if the pressure is on, I definitely believe that we are going to see a lot more furniture industries come up in the country.
Let's talk about how to address shareholder queries, and ultimately when somebody is investing in the stock for a long term, they just focus on one thing, which is cash flows. You are in middle of capex cycle, you are looking at expanding in the south. What kind of cash flow do you think we should expect from Century Plyboards post expansion in next 12 to 18 months?
I think we are in a very strong position when it comes to cash flows. If you look at it, I think as of the end of last quarter, our total debt was less than 100 crores or somewhere around that. Now it is obviously even far lower. And our free cash flow generation has been very strong and sustained for the past few quarters. So whatever capex we are going to go ahead with, I think it is going to be primarily funded through internal accruals. So I think in terms of cash flows, we are in a very, very strong position. And going forward, I think we are going to be looking to keep our company debt-free. And by debt-free, I mean completely debt-free. And as well as that, we're going to be looking to increase cash flow generation quarter on quarter.
Plans in place to increase market share and to boost up your return ratios. How exactly do you plan to achieve that?
We have a lot of initiatives that we have taken. We have rolled out a new Salesforce automation process. We have rolled out a new product technology that has become the industry standard again. And there are new developments that we are working on. So we're a company that continuously thinks and continuously innovates both in product and in process. And I think that has been our forte. In terms of execution, I believe that we are some of the fastest, or we are the fastest in terms of execution of any project. So our Hoshiarpur plant took about 16 months to get the trial production, 18 months to be commissioned, which is the fastest MDF plant commissioned in the history of this country. So I think going forward, all of this gives us a lot of confidence that we will be able to deliver the returns that we are committing.
Okay. Closing comments. Could you also share with us what is happening to the unorganized plywood market? That's been a very large market, and that's where the change is happening. Organized players like yours, they're gaining market share. How large is the unorganized market, and in the post-pandemic world, what is happening there?
The unorganized market is 70% plus of the market. And, we've had this discussion quite a few times. I remember once demonetization took place, we said the unorganized sector is going to reduce substantially. When GST took place, we said the unorganized sector is going to reduce substantially. So I think, once bitten, twice shy. So I think right now, there is no long-term sustainable trend. In the first few months, they were in severe crisis because of working capital issues, where we sort of sailed through because of financial discipline. But going forward, there could be a reduction in the unorganized sector. But I am not too sure. I would not like to comment on this just yet. I think we should wait and watch for another 2 or 3 months at least.
Well, Keshav, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. We've covered a lot of ground in terms of why trends, why demand is back, what's happening to industry, and what is the future forward or way forward for Century Plyboard. Appreciate your time and have a great day.